The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, cinematography by Greg Fraser, is a cinematic masterpiece. This new iteration to the King of Superheroes has Batman in his second year of crime fighting, exploring a detective neo-noir thriller, excelling in numerous aspects. This analysis will be separated into three parts, with story, characters, and filmmaking, all being the reasons why Mark and I love this film so much. Where do I begin? The storyline adaptation of The Long Halloween is one I always thought would be interesting to see on the big screen, and this was done so brilliantly. Having the focus be around Batman in his second year of crime fighting is new and refreshing. The concept of having Batman in the start of the film represent the symbol of vengeance and to be feared, to by the end becoming the symbol of hope we all know to love. This is wonderful screenplay and writing to create this. Reeves dressed Bruce as a drifter in the first scene of the film, which was inspired by a similar moment in Batman Year One. This is another perfect tie to being in his second year throughout the movie, and whilst referencing an amazing comic book run. The story is influenced not only by the amazing dialogue, but the story's location being Gotham, which is vital for audiences to recognise, yet to be unique in its own way. Gotham being portrayed as dark, gritty, crime-filled city encapsulates the need for a crime-fighting vigilante. With the story following the brutal killings of corrupt high authority figures of Gotham, sets up a feature where the Court of Owls storyline could be adapted into live action, which is just phenomenal. I am one of those people who are tired of the Martha and Thomas Wayne plotlines and everything being shown of their death in every and each iteration of Batman. Yet this movie puts them front and center of the mystery of whether or not they're as pure as Bruce thinks they are, placing us in the shoes of Robert Pattinson's character, which helps us to engage us as the audience. The story balances drama and action superbly with the lengthy runtime, which some may consider it's too long. I am definitely not one of those people. This film's story is none other than a detective neo-noir thriller, which has elements drawn from previous classic films such as Seven and Taxi Driver. To get down to why I love this grounded take of the Caped Crusader compared to the Nolan versions, is a focus of the emotional and psychological struggle of many of the film's characters and their decisions. These choices that make them shape into who they are and who we know from the comics and the films. I love so much that Reeves went the route of a more detective side, having Batman fight using his mental strength compared to his fists. Yes, even though there's plenty of action with his fists too. The perks of having a younger Batman for his character development and the story helps us to place the viewers into the shoes of him where he almost feels tangible in our society. This is due to the mistakes he makes, his emotional outbursts, and his stubbornness. This makes us human. We can all recall having these feelings and actions in our lives, which gives us a greater connection to the iteration of Batman compared to those that came before. Having the citizens of Gotham from the start of the film see this vigilante as an issue, like the criminals, to a symbol of faith and hope even if the city is flooded, is just perfect storytelling. The storyline is not just a plot of corruption, but each character that all play a part in developing this world to be one to fear and that you can't trust anymore. The city itself feels like the overall issue being the catalyst for the crime, including the Riddler, Penguin, Joker, and all these crazy villains, which creates a tragedy within itself. This movie's storyline sets up many theories about what the Batman 2 could be, with references to Hush, Joker, Killer Croc, Clayface, insinuating that the floodgates ironically have opened in Gotham. Any of these or none of these at all could happen, but I have faith in Reeves and his storytelling ability to tell another famous adaptation from the comics and turn it into another masterpiece in this iteration of the Caped Crusader.
As Jack has stated, Matt Reeves' Batman is something new, one audiences haven't seen before and one I think many of us have wanted without realising. A young, sleep-deprived detective, a recluse, with no time for the traditional playboy mantra Bruce Wayne is associated with. Instead, we see a lonely, beat-up, tired Bruce Wayne, whose only goal is to end crime in the city known for its endless supply. Bruce Wayne has only been fighting crime for 2 years. He has experience, but he has almost exclusively fought street criminals, at least to our knowledge. So when a deranged serial killer with a conspiracy spanning city-wide shows up, Bruce has to change his tactics and adapt. This villain cannot be fought off with brute strength alone. The film opens with Bruce stating how 2 years of nights have turned him into a nocturnal animal, one that must choose his targets carefully. And when we see this in action, we see it from the perspective of the criminals. Slow, clanking steel on steel steps, coming out of the darkness, a man in all black striking fear in his targets. He takes out an entire gang, leaving the remaining member terrified. Vengeance has done his job, but the man he saves begs not to be hurt. Is Batman meant to cause the innocent to beg for their life, or is that just vengeance? This is what this film is truly about. Bruce Wayne's transition from vengeance to Batman, a symbol of pure fear to one of enlightened hope. We saw more Batman than Bruce Wayne throughout the film. It's clear who Reeves wants us to think Bruce Wayne really is. He is the Batman. As much as Alfred tries to remind him he is Bruce Wayne, he ignores him and spends all of his energies on the case. The scene that always comes to mind when thinking of the true Bruce Wayne is at the funeral of Gotham's former mayor, in which he sees himself in the orphaned child, and his first instinct is to make sure he's okay when the car crashes through the church. But of course, when one of the Riddler's goons declares himself to be Vengeance, the Batman is truly born, Wayne finally understanding that he himself has inspired many of those he lives to fight. This is the genius of Reeves' Batman. The Riddler has similar motives to Batman. He wants to end corruption in Gotham, but his method is in stark contrast to that of Batman. These details, which slowly reveal themselves throughout the film, show the complexity of Reeves' plot, culminating in the Arkham Asylum scene where the Riddler claims to Batman that he was inspired by Batman's attempt at ending corruption. This leaves both Batman and the audience with a sick feeling that Bruce had some form of responsibility for the attacks, and is what convinces him to change his ways. In a similar effect to the somewhat shared motives of the Riddler and Batman, they have a similar upbringing. Both boys grew up as orphans, but the key difference was that Bruce Wayne grew up comfortably with his family's riches and the care of Alfred, whereas Edward Nashton, the Riddler, grew up in a defunded and dilapidated orphanage originally funded by the Wayne family. His rough upbringing is what led to his future of terrorism and serial murder. The Batman is known for attempting to be slightly more realistic than other Batman movies, which is most clearly seen through the new Batmobile. But Reeves also took the more realistic route for the characters. The Riddler's costume is highly unorthodox compared to what we all know. All parts of his costume are available at stores, which allows the Riddler to have his followers dress in the same way as him to confuse the police and attempt to create a movement. It's also quite clear that the character draws upon true crime, with a parallel to be drawn between the Riddler and his ciphers and the Zodiac Killer in the US. Selina Kyle, better known as Catwoman, also takes on a slightly different role in this film. Catwoman is often depicted as an anti-hero, even though classically she has been a villain. In this film, she certainly is more of an anti-hero than a villain, but I would argue she was more of a hero in her own right. Selina Kyle is also presented as a love interest for Bruce Wayne, another common trope for Batman media. Whilst it plays a role in the film, it is not a major plot point, but it does develop both of their characters, particularly later in the film when they realise it's best they go their separate ways, quite literally. What I mean by this is that whilst Bruce Wayne now believes he is a symbol of hope, and that generally there is hope in Gotham that it can be rid of crime, Selina Kyle deems Gotham unsavable and leaves the city to seek whatever comes next in her life. Almost all Batman fans know who Commissioner Gordon is, a classic character who runs the Gotham City Police Department and who is a clean cop trying to fight crime and corruption alike. But to continue with fresh takes on classic characters, Reeves changed him up a bit. Instead of being the Commissioner of Police, he's a lieutenant trying to solve crimes amidst the blatant corruption surrounding him. He acted as a mediator between Batman and the Gotham City Police Department, since he was the investigator on the case of the mayor's death. One of the great characteristics of Gordon in this film is his clear ability to work under pressure, whether the pressure of criminals or the corrupt officers all around him. He's steadfast and a reliable, indispensable source of help and information for Batman to draw upon. Continuing with the more serious themes of this film, the Penguin is not the crazy bumbling fool he so often is, but is instead a powerful drug lord holding a lot of sway in the criminal underworld of Gotham. I'm sure everyone remembers the amazing car chase that we got to see between him and the new Batmobile. He comes across as a highly intelligent villain who likely won't stop in pursuit of riches and power. He may have been a secondary villain in this film, but I'm sure his upcoming TV series will be great at fleshing out his character. Carmine Falcone is a Batman villain that I personally had not heard of before watching this film. He's a classic take on the Italian-American mobster, and it works well in this film, particularly in explaining the corruption in all levels of the Gotham government. Falcone presents as a charismatic man who can get what he wants. He's ruthless and frightening in getting his way, considering there are so many people in Gotham in his pocket. This is to be expected from the head of a mafia-style organisation, and the added plot twist of his connection to Catwoman only further adds intensity and weight to the storyline. Similarly, when it is revealed that Thomas Wayne hired Falcone, Bruce suffers a crisis of faith about his family's true past. This also affects the audience as it adds a layer of murky ethics to the main protagonist, whilst making Falcone seem intimidating and untouchable, at least whilst Bruce is not in his suit. It goes without saying that the acting in this film was outstanding by all involved, as was the costume design, which really showed who each character was personally. These characters truly brought to life the intricacies of the mysterious story and left audiences on the edge of their seats.
Matt Reeves deserves a round of applause with his way of directing, absolutely setting the tone and the story to be one to remember for sure. The whole movie being darkly lit gave Gotham a unique yet familiar feeling, with a blend of the Nolan trilogy and Tim Burton trilogy, or two movies, with a hint of its own creativity. Throughout the whole movie, the lighting is dim and the environments are surrounded in darkness to contrast the end. As Batman is rescuing the survivors, we see a bathe of light, giving us glimpses of hope. This uses lighting as a perfect storytelling example for Batman's character development and how he is portrayed as a feared force of vengeance to a hopeful hero of the people of Gotham. Reeves does an excellent job with his use of establishing shots to ensure audiences are aware of scene transitions and new localities. The numerous close-ups of the Batman and the characters gives us a great look at their emotions and how they are thinking and feeling at the time. The directing in this movie is beautiful, dark, mysterious, and visually appealing. Reeves is not afraid of using shots where the lens is dirty on purpose, giving the shot things in the foreground or over the main focus. The point of view shots which are introduced to us at the beginning is just wow. I couldn't help but think of Alfred Hitchcock's influence with the movie Rear Window. The way the film is shot feels so realistic due to placing the audience and the camera in the front row seat as these voyeurs or detectives with Batman, making it an engaging watch throughout. Directing aside, the acting in this movie is something special. I remember when Robert Pattinson was first announced and the whole social media was in an outrage. But not myself and others, we had a feeling that he would encapsulate this role perfectly with his works on Good Time and The Lighthouse. I knew he was a great actor and had the look down to the T for a younger, raw Batman. The casting director Lucy Beavan, who decided to have Colin Farrell as the Penguin in that fat suit and makeup, is truly wonderful, who became such a scene stealer. From Falcone to Catwoman to Gordon and of course the Riddler is just perfect to the T. This is Gotham. This is Batman. Of course, I couldn't help myself but to engulf myself in every piece of this movie, and as a collector myself, I had to get the steelbook of this film. This comes with an amazing extensive behind the scenes. Yet again, I am astonished by the sheer care and detail in their use of practical effects, from the Batman's flight suit, multiple Batmobiles for driving, jumping, and even crashing. Even the sets and the suits in general are just so perfect and visually stunning. The use of CGI was crisp and used to an extent which is not overused, and the feeling is just perfect. If anything, my hopes for the Batman 2 is to use more CGI if they go the Killer Croc route, and even Clayface, which would be a test for sure. The sound design from the best score I have heard in so many years, to the Batmobile starting up, to the sound of Batman's punches, and even down to the minute details of just the ambience of Gotham. To its roots, the movie comes down to a culmination of amazing cinematography, acting and sound. To the Batman's theme, to the sound design of even the Riddler's muffled talking, and the sound of the almighty Batmobile makes this film one to remember. This film is a masterpiece, not just a good superhero film, but a good murder mystery film in general. I still remember seeing the suit reveal on YouTube when I was out in public and could not contain my excitement. My expectations were high, and yet it still delivered and filled me with joy. This is the perfect Batman. Mark and I will see you guys in the future videos. We hope you all liked our review and analysis of this wonderful film. So from us at Pop Cultured,